Over the past couple of years, the interest in the paranormal has been increasing. More and more people are wanting to learn about this field. They love consuming content on the paranormal, whether it's through Netflix shows, documentaries, movies, etc. Now, it's interesting. Why is this happening? Potentially, one of the reasons is that people are moving away from this sort of purely hardline materialistic way of looking at reality. That's possibly one of the reasons, but that's a topic for another show. What I want to share with you guys here is just a bird's eye perspective of this domain, if you like, this niche, and share some very interesting conclusions with you as we go along. Now, when it comes to the paranormal, there's two real camps. From the research and the study I've done on this, there's two main camps. The first camp includes those individuals that believe all of this different phenomenon. And when you talk about the paranormal, there's a lot of different sub-domains within this field. All of this different phenomenon, which includes UAPs as they know now, UFOs, Bigfoot, Mothman, what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch, abductions, etc., etc., etc. All of these things are individual separate phenomenon that have their own unique explanations. The second camp, which by the way I believe includes more of the academically inclined, those individuals that have been researching this phenomenon for decades, individuals like Jacques Vallée, I think that's his name, or I'm just mispronouncing it. You have John Keel and a couple of others, individuals who have spent decades of their lives researching this, spending time on the ground, speaking to people, taking testimony, corroborating testimonies, etc., etc. So the second camp seems to include the academics, or more so. You have far more academics in the second camp, and the second camp's conclusions are that all of this different phenomenon, whatever it is, it's all linked. It's all linked. It has a common base. It has a common if you like, impetus. There is something. So in other words, what they're saying is that they're providing almost a universal theory for the paranormal. And when you do look at these varying different things that are taking place, whether it's people hunting for what they refer to as Bigfoot, or this UAP phenomenon, which has gotten a lot of traction over the past year or so because of the American government coming out with having a congressional hearing and so on and so forth, there seems to definitely be a link. There definitely seems to be a link. And I really believe that a lot of this phenomenon, a lot of it is linked to jinn. Now this, I can take a sort of metaphysical, religious perspective on this, and I can conclude that and say, well, look, a lot of this phenomenon can be explained by referring to the jinn.
I refer to them as the jinn.
These beings that exist alongside us, possibly in a parallel dimension or whatever the case is. And we can't see them in most instances, but they can see us, and they have been given certain abilities that we don't have. And a lot of the things that are going on, take for example Skinwalker Ranch, you have, they refer to this phenomenon as having a trickster type of feel. They basically, this phenomenon, whatever it is, plays tricks with these people. There's the hitchhiker phenomenon, as they refer to it.
George, this one's directed to you. Why don't you explain to the people who are unacquainted what the hitchhiker effect is?
The Bass team first noticed it in correlation to things that happened to people who visited Skinwalker Ranch. In particular, there were at least 5, maybe 6 intelligence officials who, during the OSAP program, overseen and funded by the Defense Intelligence Agency, these intelligence officials visited Skinwalker Ranch, had an encounter with something unusual, and then took something home with them. We don't know exactly how it works. We don't know why it happens, but it's happened over and over again.
Where whoever's gone onto this ranch and studied this ranch, when they go back home, something follows them, something goes back and then terrorizes their families, etc. Now, obviously, I'm not giving you too much context in regards to the Skinwalker Ranch. For those that don't know, I will definitely do a separate video on this. But the point is that when you look at these and you study these different phenomenon, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, whatever else, the ghosts, etc., there seems to be some things that overlap, or many things that overlap. And these researchers have noticed this, and they are highlighting this. Now, one of the best books that I've come across, which seems to really make this link, and it's written by non-Muslims, it's written by a lady called Rosemary Ellen and Philip Ambrogno. It's called The Vengeful Djinn. this book here. I don't know if you guys can see the cover, but this book, and it's a phenomenal book, because what they've done, they have researched this phenomenon to a great extent, and then they've also traveled in particular to the Middle East, and they've come across stories of the jinn and what these beings are, etc. And they have, connected the dots. They've realized that there is a connection here, and their conclusion is, to a great extent, that a lot of this phenomenon that's taking place, it's actually jinn. There's a brother named Hamza, the historian. He shared a very interesting podcast on his channel. I believe it was a few years ago. And these two individuals that have written this book actually come onto that podcast, and I'll link it in the description below, and they actually talk about this topic.
According to the Quran, when God created man from clay, from earth and water, he instructed the angels, who he made out of a pure spiritual light, and the jinn, who are made out of a smokeless fire. He instructed the angels to prostrate themselves before his new creation, and the angels, having no free will, must obey, and they do. But Iblis, the leader of the jinn, did not.
You can tell that they've spent time studying what Islam has to say in regards to the jinn. I guess what I want to say here or suggest is that anyone that's interested in this field, especially if you're a non-Muslim, is to definitely read the Quran. Study the Quran, because the Quran and the prophetic tradition itself, the hadith literature, because there is a lot in that in regards to the jinn and what they are, and you'll find it extremely interesting, because it will definitely connect the dots for you. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there's a narration where he said that the jinn take 3 forms, or appear in 3 forms: those that fly through the air, those that appear as dogs and snakes or animal forms, and those that come and go. And that's very interesting, referring back to the Skinwalker Ranch. What you see taking place there is almost all 3 forms of this, this phenomenon. It's very, very interesting. I mean, anyone that studied the jinn, and anyone that's, done some research into this topic of the paranormal, you would see clearly, it doesn't take much to draw these links. I want to quickly share just a small excerpt from the opening words, because as I mentioned, these individuals actually studied the Quran, took the time to speak to religious scholars, etc. And they say, although we are not able to read the original Asim version of the Quran in Arabic, its teachings and historical information in the English version still made considerable sense to us. We both found the Quran a wonderful book of information and spiritual teachings, and we highly recommend its reading to all persons, regardless of religious background or philosophy concerning life. The Quran, like many great religious books, is a guide concerning spiritual awareness and ascension to a higher plane of existence. Now, the reason I wanted to read that to you was because, number one, obviously when they went through the Islamic texts, they found them to be extremely beneficial in regards to this topic. And a lot of the book is based on what Islam has to say in regards to the jinn, right? So anyone, again, just to emphasize this again, anyone that's interested in this topic, wants to make sense of what's going on, to definitely read the Quran, study it for yourself. There is a lot of information in there, and it explains all of this phenomenon, a lot of this phenomenon, right? So hopefully you find this video beneficial. I just wanted to put this out there because, for one, I really wanted to encourage non-Muslims who are interested in this topic, who are seeking information, to definitely look at the Islamic tradition, read the Quran, read the sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And also for Muslims who are interested in this topic, for them to realize that, look, Islam has a lot to say even in regards to the paranormal, or what we refer to as the paranormal, and what's going on. I would definitely be doing more videos on these specific topics, going into maybe specific details in the future. But for now, I think it's sufficient to conclude here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, take care. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you haven't already, definitely check out the Quranly app. It's a phenomenal app that has some brilliant features, and it's designed to help you develop a regular relationship with the Quran. Check out the link in the description box below.